Welcome back, and this is another Crossbeats production, and you're here with Nate28. So this is a review on the API 2500. That's a bus compressor. For y'all who don't know about this compressor, it's been around for a while, and the compressor itself has a hardware version, and this is obviously an emulation of that. Now, when I've stumbled across this, which is just going across to the UAD website, and I came across it, they just recently updated their platform for their plugins, and I was so happily surprised to find this compressor, because I know that, like, for example, Waves have had this compressor out for a long time, and there's a hardware unit version of it, obviously, but, you know, buying the hardware is sometimes not affordable for some people, and such as myself, I don't tend to buy any hardware like that, but I've wanted this compressor so badly for so long, and the Waves one just didn't really do it for me. I've demoed that. Not to say it's bad at all or anything like that, I just didn't feel like it had the sound that I wanted, plus the fact that it didn't really resemble the sound that I know that the hardware makes. So anyway, that's why I'm reviewing this one today, and I just wanted to take you guys through it. Now, obviously, this is a bus compressor, but that doesn't limit it just to being a bus compressor. So if you're thinking you can only use it on the bus, don't think that, because you can use any compressor anywhere you want to, as long as it sounds right to you and it sounds right for your mix. So this review is just going to be kind of a brief at the start. I might do a further updated review. I've demoed this product, obviously, just so I can review it at this stage, and it's on the UAD site, as I said. So be happy to check it out, review it yourself if you have the UAD hardware. You need, obviously, Apollo, and you need the Unison setup to be able to use this. It's not just the standard VST, unfortunately, if you're looking to demo it without a Apollo unit. But anyway, regardless of that, I just wanted to show you what it sounds like. So first off, I fiddled around with it on my bus, and it's on my last insert before my mastering insert. So you can see with my mastering insert here, this is just a few things that I've got going on: multi-band compression, EQ, well, not a whole lot of EQ actually, just dipping out the low end, and multi-band, and an imager and a maximizer. So the API is just before that. Now I'll fiddle around with it. I'll just go in and out of using it, so you're basically putting it active and then bypassing it. So let's just see what it sounds like without it first, my mix, and I'll play that to you so you can hear it, and then we'll go on with that, and we'll put the compressor on there, and we'll just fiddle around with the settings, and then I'll explain to you exactly what I feel like they do and how this works. That that to me sounds really, really good. Not too sure about the actual hardware unit. Like I said, I haven't heard the hardware unit, but I must say, if that's close enough to the hardware unit from what I have heard on videos, etc. I haven't really heard the hardware unit in real life. That's what I'm trying to say. Is listening to this, though, it really has a really nice sound. It's so smooth. The transients, the way that the transients are affected, is really nice. It sounds like this compressor, how I remember it to sound when I used the Waves one. I've seen Waves versus the actual hardware unit. I've seen that before in a video, and I know that when I listened to the two, that they were almost light year apart with the sound. But this sound reminds me of the actual hardware that I heard. So I really think that, fiddling with the tone as well, and fiddling with the release, the attack, the ratio, the threshold, and the mix, it really, at the end, gave this track some kind of real thickness and fullness, and it really glued it together, even more than it was already glued together. So when I see stuff like this, and I hear how the compressor can change sounds like this, and especially for a plugin to be able to do such a good job of that, I'm really impressed. I honestly think this is probably like a 9 out of 10. Worst case scenario, 8 out of 10, but I really think it's a 9 out of 10, or if not a 10 out of 10, for my opinion. UAD have really got this one, and I'm not trying to boast for them, because I don't get anything out of the sales. Obviously, look at this as a demo. They didn't give it to me to trial it. It's just a demo. So by the way, if UAD are watching, I'd really love this compressor if you give it to me, by the way. But if you're not, oh well, that's all right, all good. But so what happens here on the dials is pretty much it shows me the amount of compression that's happening. You can change that to be the input signal or the output signal, and that meters that. Now it's got a power button here which you can turn off completely. I presume that turns off the signal chain because the power is off. So if you're turning it on but you're just bypassing it, that still sounds to me like it's still getting signal through the, I guess, what they try to replicate as the capacitors and all that sort of stuff inside the compressor. So I was still hearing that when I was bypassing it on that button, and that's why I tended to use the actual active button and non-active. But obviously you hear clipping, or not clicking, when I do that. So maybe I'll just bypass it with the actual power button and see how that affects it. It's also got this headroom little dial here, so it increases, like, I would presume, the headroom that can go into the compressor. So in case you're mixing at a lower volume through a console or whatever you're using, maybe an audio interface, it's like a DAW like this, and maybe you need more headroom and you want to increase the headroom. That gives you the option to do that, from what I can see there. So it's kind of similar to actually the let me just see if I can find it. The Fairchild had a headroom switch on it as well down here, but that's more of a different kind of function. So this has got a balance switch as well, but that's not the same kind of compressor. It's a lot different, and I might do another separate video for that again. I've done another video for that before, but I didn't really go into too much depth on it. But anyway, so I'll just fiddle around a bit more and I'll see what I can get. I might crush the sound just to see what it sounds like when it's crushed, because that's always a good indicator. If you know what the crushed sound like is in a compressor, then you know how it's really affecting it and stuff like that. So let's just play around with that for a bit, and I'll see how I can go with this one. bring something to your attention. Just focus on this light here. And the reason why I'm bringing this to your attention is because that light is flashing the exact same kind of tempo to my track. So just a quick tip for compression: if you're really trying to get your compressor to sound like it's breathing inside your mix, is a word I guess you could use. Focus on your needle, focus on if it has a light indicator, you can focus on that as well. This has both. But I tend to focus on the needle if I don't have the light, and I watch the needle bounce to my kick or my bass, whatever it's compressing. And if it's bouncing in time with the with the kick or the bass, then I know it's kind of giving that rhythm to the track. And you can hear it anyway, but it's always kind of good as a visual indicator to watch the needle. So just check it out. Man, the old one sounds really nice. I must say, that sounds really good. Let's keep going. cool. So that's really cool. I'm happy I fiddled around with this for a bit because it sounds really nice. There's so many different settings you can use for a master bus. To be honest, I just flicked through pretty much everything I could think of at that point. Especially if you're going to have a fast attack, you don't want to have a lot of compression because you don't want to have it smashing your transient. But on that note, if you want to do it the other way around, have minimal threshold and decrease your attack, you can really get different sounds out of your mix there. So I'd recommend this compressor if you're looking for a compressor that sounds like this. And I'd also, recommend if you can just at least demo it if that's possible and you have the hardware to do that. But otherwise, I mean, that's a great compressor. I might just quickly trial it on the guitar just to see what I can do with that. And actually, no, I might put it on the drums because I know that drums are something that it sounds awesome on. So let me just make sure I've got the right things. Alright. That's got that real API sound to it now. That had that real like crushed API sound that you get out of this compressor. Now this is why this compressor is great for drums and drum effects, because you can get your compressor there and just slam the drums really hard and they still will sound like somewhat clean to a degree. They have distortion, but it's just a different sound that this compressor. I've only ever really found this compressor to make this sound. So I'm sure there's other compressors out there that do it, but this one just really has that sound. That sounds awesome. Let me just put these into a bus and just try it that way, and then put it onto the the master as well. Whoa, what's going on here, man? Not that one. Let's try again. Alright, let's try it on the drums and we'll see how that sounds in the mix and then out of the mix. So I'll just solo this. So I've got an API on the bass now, and I'll see how it sounds on the bass and we'll go with that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like this compressor, so I hope this didn't go too long. Obviously, it's kind of longer video, but I really want to just go into more depth of this compressor and just mess around with my mix a bit with it. So if you like this video and if you like what I'm doing, please subscribe to the channel. Also, please give a thumbs up. It really does help me out on this, and I will do more reviews on this compressor later on. And peace.